Hi, I'm Maria from Nancy's Notions, and today we're going to talk about making a stylish yoga bag using the information from Nancy's favorite handbag sewing techniques book. We're going to get started with Nancy's favorite handbag technique starter kit and some additional yardage. Okay, so here's a better look at the Trace and Create templates. You can see that I've got two parts. This is the center and this is for the side, but I'm going to use them together. On the templates are pictures of the bag options, and I am going to use the South Beach Plus bag. So here is the center. I'm going to take advantage of the print on the fabric and line this right up along those diamonds. And I'm going to put the side right next to it and use my chalk pencil to draw half of the bag on here. This will be my cutting line when I cut out the bag. The views on here are also color coded, so it's very easy to keep track of which one you're working on. So since that's half, I'm just going to flip this right over, line it up where I left off, and put the other half over here. With the template, this is also already marked for you for boxing the bottom of the bag, so you have a square bottom to your bag, which is really handy. And there is the front and back of your bag. And there you go. Here's the top, the sides, the bottom corners, and the bottom of my bag all drawn out for me. Since I chose this shape to make the tote bag from, I'm going to use this side of the template to also mark where my straps are going to go. So I'm just going to give myself a dotted line down here. And over on the other side. And then here on this dotted line is where the strap placement is going to be. Now that I've got my outline drawn, I'm going to just rough cut around it and go add interfacing to the back to stabilize my fabric to make the bag nice and strong. I have my piece rough cut and I've added interfacing to the back to stabilize my fabric. And now you can go ahead with your scissors or with rotary cutter and your mat and cut out along the outer lines of your tote bag pieces. Using some of the parts from our starter kit, this is a piece of Peltex. It is stiffer than interfacing and not as soft as batting, but it's going to give even more stability to the bag. So I'm simply going to lay it out. So I'm going to take a few pins and just pin it in place. Because it's stiff, it might take a little finagling to get the pins in there. And then I can cut. Not quite up to it yet because I want to baste it first. I'm going to go to the sewing machine and do a quick baste around the outer edges of the bag to hold it together, and then we'll put the bottom of the bag together for the next step. So all I've done is basted around the edge of the bag. I'm going to take my scissors again and cut this Peltex right close to the edge. And now I have a stiffened, stabilized piece of fabric to make my tote bag from. Now I have two halves of a bag. I'm going to put them face to face, lining up this bottom edge here. And I'm going to stitch them together so that when I open it up, it's going to be one continuous piece. So I have stitched the bottom of my bag together, and I took a wide zigzag and stitched it down to hold the seam open to make it nice and flat. It gives some reinforcement to the bottom of the bag, and it also makes it lay flat down there. Next part that I'm going to add is the Shape and Create. It is a thin, foamy piece of plastic, if I can describe it like that. If you wanted to put feet on your bag, this will give some stability to the bag as well. but it's one of the tips that Nancy uses for reinforcing the bottom of the bag. So I'm going to cut it to fit within the seam allowance, where I'm going to box the corners, and over here too, so you can see I'm a little bit long. So we'll cut that and stitch that in place as well before we put straps on. Next, we're going to work on constructing the straps and the tabs to hold those straps in place. I'm going to cut myself 3 2-inch strips. To create the straps, I'm going to use a product from Clover that's included in your kit. It's called Create-A-Strap, and it is like an interfacing, but it's got fusible glue on one side already and these perforations along the edge. So I'm going to fuse it into place, and it's got fold lines already created in there. It's super easy to use and one of my favorite products. I'm going to go to the sewing machine and stitch them together end to end to make one long continuous line and apply my Create-A-Strap. So here's what it looks like out of the package. You can see how easily it's going to fold along there. One side is interfacing and the other side is that fusible part of the interfacing. So I want the fusible side against the fabric. I don't want it to stick to my iron, and I'm going to take the iron and simply heat it into place. All right. I've got it all fused in place, and now I'm going to go back with my iron and fold along those perforations and warm it up one more time. Instead of getting a ruler out and meticulously measuring all these spots, look at how clean and nice that is when it's pressed. To finish off the raw edges left behind, I'm going to take my ribbon or my prepackaged bias tape, center it onto this back side, and simply stitch along the edges of that tape to finish it off. Now, to create the tabs that the strap is going to run through, I've taken another 2-inch strip of fabric, fold it in half to find the center. I'm going to fold the outer edges into that crease. And then both folded edges together, trapping my raw edge on the inside, sort of like a belt loop. I'm going to go to the sewing machine and stitch along both folded edges to stabilize it, and then cut myself 8 pieces that are 3 1/4 inches long. Continuing the construction of the bag, I'm going back to those dotted lines that we marked earlier for where the straps are going to run, and now we're marking spots for where the tabs need to be stitched. So I've gone 4 1/2 inches up from that bottom seam to the first tab here, and then I'm going 3 inches down from the top to where the next tab placement will be here. And we're going to do this in 4 spots, 2 on the front and 2 spots on the back. So here are my 3 1/4 inch pieces. I'm going to press under 1/2 inch on either side and lay that over my marks for the straps, but I'm only going to stitch down one side, leaving this side free because we're going to insert the strap before we stitch the second side. So here are my tabs, partially sewn into place, and I know this construction is a little different than what you've probably done for a tote bag, but you're going to love how clever this is. I have taken my strap and I've finished off both ends, and I've made sure that it's not twisted somewhere. So here's that nice fold on the outside, and here's my ribbon, or in this case bias tape, stitched on the inside, so there are no raggedy edges showing. So the next step is to lay this underneath those tabs, and again, make sure you don't twist the strap somehow for later on. And with the size of it, you can see you've got plenty of room to go back to the sewing machine, stitch the other side of your tab, and this is not going to get caught in there at all. And what it's going to do is make this strap adjustable. So if you want to insert your yoga mat, or maybe a quilt, or anything you need to carry outside the bag, those straps are going to be able to adjust with your needs. Now I have my tabs are stitched on, my strap is in place, and I've sewn down the sides of my bag, and then I open that up to where that corner was already cut out from the template, And I'm stitching straight across there to box the bottom of my tote. To create your lining, you're going to get your template back out and cut 2 pieces the same as we did for the front and the back of our tote bag, only you don't need to do all of that stabilizing that we did before. So stitch the bottom seam together, stitch your sides, and then close up the holes and simply insert that lining into the bag. Pin those top edges together and bind it with your favorite binding technique, and you are all set to go. So now I've got straps that are adjustable. So I can pull them from the bottom of the bag like this and insert my yoga mat. Or since I'm a quilter, maybe I'll slide a design wall in there with some pieces that are all ready to go for a quilt that I'm working on, and I can pick it up and walk off to class, fill it with whatever supplies I need or you need for your yoga class, and you're all set to go. And as you can see, I am all rolled up and ready to go. It's in with my straps, so I only need one hand to carry all of my supplies and my design wall, and I'm in the car and on my way to a retreat. I hope you've learned some helpful tips for creating your next tote bag. As you can see, variety is only limited by your imagination. This strap technique is very clever for adding a rolled up yoga mat, your design wall, or your favorite beach towel so that you're ready to get in the car. We thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, click the like button or leave us a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe.